This is Victorious De Costa, and I'm on a Better Days Show podcast.
Welcome, Victorious, on the Better Days Show podcast. We're just gonna jump right into it, man.
I got into making film because, as a DJ and a manager of artists, I was shooting a lot of behind the scenes footage, and I also was producing music videos. So it was kind of like a natural transition once I stopped dealing with music to go right into film.
And what are you working on right now as far as, film?
Well, what's going on right now is I have a film that I'm a producer of. It's called Yusuf Hawkins Storm Over Brooklyn, and that's going to be premiering on HBO on August 12th. And it's a story about Yusuf Hawkins. Yusuf Hawkins was a 16-year-old boy who was murdered in Bensonhurst in 1989. So telling that story, and that's directed by Muta Ali.
Okay,
Excited about that, as
no
they say.
doubt. What is it exactly your role, in making
Well,
that film?
Well, I'm a producer of the film, right? And so producers do a variety of things, but I can say that I'm the first creative person on the project per se. It
Okay,
was pitched to me initially through social media.
okay,
Someone hit me up. His name is Charles Darby. He's one of Yusuf's friends. He hit
okay,
me up and told me he wanted to do a film about his friend Yusuf Hawkins. And I'm like, oh, I know that name. So I helped Charles with the initial research. Together we dug up a lot of the people who were witnesses to the event, and then I helped him find the director, Muta Ali, who I already had a working relationship prior. So with that, to scheduling interviews, managing locations, and really my job is to help the director manifest his creative vision and keep him, stress free as much as possible. So from development, which is the forming of the idea, to post production, to even now that the film has been done for some months now, still a lot of work to do as far as marketing the film. So working with HBO as well as our partners,
okay,
Lightbox and ABFF, and making sure that the film has big impact. So
okay.
that's like in a nutshell.
Only going to be licensed to HBO, or you guys gonna spread it to all the digital platform?
Okay. So right now, HBO is showing it in U.S. and Canada, and as far as where it goes next, only the future can tell. But I
Okay.
do expect that after it does come out and the world sees the impact of this film, I'm sure it is going to spread to different platforms. Right now, though, it is a proud HBO documentary film.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. So with this, we are independent brothers, like the team, four guys
Hmm.
that we work with, but we quickly got snatched up, in a positive way
Hmm.
by, several companies. You have ABFF, was the American Black Film Festival. So
Okay.
they had an initiative with a company called Lightbox, who did the Whitney doc, they did LA 92, some other docs,
Right.
and it was for diversity. So we worked with them, and then National Geographic funded, our demo, you can say, the development reel and everything. So after that, HBO picked it up. So even though we indie, it still is like a very large thing. So it won't be on. I imagine it would not be on at this point on Netflix or YouTube. Right now, it's HBO documentary film, and you know how HBO does with their films. They there forever. But so who knows what's gonna happen?
Right.
But this is different than, like, say, my previous film, Digging for Woden Ravine, where it's like, yo, I'll show it wherever y'all want me to show it. So I'm very happy with the partnership with HBO, and if it lives there for a long time, I'm happy with that. And it's cool because even if you don't have HBO,
Hmm.
there will be a lot of ways to see this film anyway, because the HBO is very, very much involved in making sure that the community sees it at large, and not just if you're an HBO subscriber.
Right.
You know.
I know you were involved pretty heavy as far as management. You know, let the people know some of the people you were managing.
I think I worked with Joel Ortiz um, for 2 years. I think it was between '05 and '07. I happened to be at the Justos. I was outside of the Justos Awards, which
Rest
I'm a
in
proud
peace. Rest in
recipes of
peace.
Justo. I'm a proud nominee of a couple of awards. We didn't win, but we nominees though. Outside of the Justos, and I was promoting my group True and Living, and I just seen like 30, 40, mostly Puerto Rican dudes outside yelling out Joel Ortiz. And I'm like, I know that name from Vinyl, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
well, he was Joel Quickman then, in a Pretty Ugly single. And I met his manager, Dennis Wynn. I was like, yo, who's this? And I found out it was the same guy that I already had his vinyl from the past. And he had a mixtape called Who the Fuck Was Joel Ortiz? And Dennis and I just connected, you know. And he was getting his feet, you know, wet back in the game because he just came back from, you know, what they call vacation. And he wanted to really push Joel. And I made a move. I made a move with my group with Joel in that they wanted something for Joel's career. I wanted something, and I kind of did like some flim flam slick manager stuff. And Dennis appreciated the fact, you know, that what I was able to do for my group. And he said, "Let me come over here and work with us and do some of that with us." And so I was kind of Dennis's, you could say, his assistant in that. Other folks in that team was Mike Haran, Homeboy Munts, and he had a great support system. Joel did. So I was there before the Koch deal and until a little bit after the aftermath deal, and that's when I got with Sha. And Sha recognized the things that I did with Joel, and he said, "Do that for me." Again, it's the whole thing, "Do that for me" type of thing,
Yeah.
you know. Which I'm proud to be associated with these great talents, you know what I'm saying? To being a fly on the wall with a lot of these great MCs. Those are two phenomenal
Oh
MCs,
yeah.
you know.
This song that
Mm,
I just can't stop playing this one song. I don't okay, I'll be honest, I don't have a lot of his music, but this one song, back of back
back of the
of the
bus.
bus, man. Tell me about this song, man. I don't know.
Back of the bus.
I love that song, you know, and I just like now I gotta ask Vic about that song back of the bus.
Cool, man. Back of the bus was from a mixtape that we did called March on Washington.
Hmm.
What we did was we did a mixtape every month with Sha, so for a year. And March on Washington was a joint like that's more like political heavy. And Sha did a joint called Back of the Bus. I forget who produced the beat, and but on the remix we got Hassan Salam for that, who's now my brother-in-law. But Back of the Bus, the beat was so ill. Sha, it was like comparing the civil rights struggle to someone nowadays who might be a little bit apathetic to politics, but still had some sort of awareness of why it should matter to him.
Hmm.
It was kind of like a real honest piece. It wasn't about him being the most revolutionary person. It wasn't about him being the most ignorant person. It was him just really acknowledging the struggle before him and and being honest though about him not really being active in it. Kind of predates some of what J. Cole is known for. J. Cole also is a big fan of Shot Stimuli. Two people, Drake and J. Cole, were people that tried to reach out to Shot Stimuli for
Hmm.
work back before I was managing him. Stimuli is like really the godfather of a lot of music that's out right now.
Hmm.
No, but
Yeah.
that's that. So Back of the Bus, yeah. You hear that song, you can kind of cry sometimes to
Yeah.
that song. A lot on that tape.
Yeah, try not to cry.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, try not to cry.
Hey, man, it's a great song.
Were you orchestrated as far as the you know the little skits that was in the intro and the part of the song?
Yeah, I would consider myself as a DJ. You know, I wasn't talking during on my mixtapes. Wasn't yelling. Wasn't doing shout outs. So my contribution was writing. You know, the skits, whether it be original skits or I'll find for some movies some clips. And so it was kind of like an early documentary style. You
Hmm.
know, and which the mixtapes were soundtracks to my documentaries. You know, and there were some songs that we get together and they'd be like, well, I think this beat says this, you know, and then Shy would sometimes take that advice and he'll craft a song around it. Cause Sha is a machine, you know what I'm saying? Like you
Right.
can tell Sha to make a song about anything, and Sha can do it very well. And so I was able to get my creative juices in that process. But yeah, but just sampling a lot of the archive stuff for the music and creating sometimes like soundscapes, creating
Yeah.
street noises and environments is something that I perfected with using with the A like mixtapes.
Right.
But it's something that we did every month with Sha, and it helps me now as a film editor. Things that I was doing with mixtapes,
You're right.
and
Right. It's
if you
kind of
watch
like,
when
hmm like a collage.
yes, and it's a sound collage, right? So if you
Sound
watch
collage.
Digging for Walden Ravine, for me that was the big mixtape. You know how I edited it, and people liked that. You know, it wasn't conventional at all. 'Cause I don't know conventional. I got thrown out a couple times at the school, right? You
Hmm.
know, so all I know is how I would make a mixtape and how I would DJ a party, and that's how I edit life.
Okay. So how did you end
Oh,
up
I'm sorry, and I
working?
was I'm sorry, I was going to say I was
No
road
problem.
manager for A Likes and Ray Six. I see you have the A Likes T-shirt on, but yeah, I was road manager
Oh yeah,
for a
yeah,
while.
yeah. I had to pull that one out. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And Weekend Money. You know, so it's all coming back. I've
Yeah.
suppressed the film business, but I also was road manager for Weekend Money. Yeah, true.
Yep. Yep.
All this prepared me for film.
Right. Right. And how did you got into DJing?
So I got into DJing as a child. I may have been 12 years old in my father's apartment. It was a first floor apartment. It was
Hmm.
across from the incinerator garbage room. And this is in the 80s. And a lot of people in the building were just throwing out their record players. Everybody's buying their cassettes. And maybe if CDs were around, they're buying CDs.
Hmm.
And so every day I'm taking out the garbage and I'm grabbing records. And that started my record collection. My father was a electronics buff, and he had two turntables and a couple of mixers. The turntables, though, they were like 4 or 5 feet apart. It wasn't like it was a DJ setup,
Right.
but tables were there, and I put tables on the floor, and I started doing my own thing, and I started to do some pause mixing, pause tapes from Red Alert
Mm.
mixes online. Unfortunately, as a child, I may have sold a couple of tapes that were really was Red Alert,
Yeah.
and but quickly
I'm pretty
though,
sure a lot of people was
I
doing
think
that.
everybody did that. I don't know,
Yeah.
as a kid, it's like they see a lot of rappers, first bit somebody's rhyme before they really. So then I started doing
Mm.
my own mixtape because you can't do Red Alert forever, right? So that was that. So primarily I was doing parties, but I also did a lot of mixtapes.
Were you producing like as far as beats?
I produced a few Shy Stimuli songs, but I never really produced for an artist. Though, again, since like high school, I had been producing, but I never really put that out there. I am producing now, though. I'm working on a project now, actually, because why not? You can see in the background, I got the keyboard.
Yes,
So
sir, sir.
I'm doing that now. I've kept
Okay.
it in for a long time,
Hmm.
but through my last film that I directed, Digging for Walden Ravine, which is about a great pioneer in American black music, I
Hmm.
found courage to start playing the keys, a little bit more seriously and making music. So look out for that. I have a group called Cat Jesus. Now I'm
Yeah.
working with.
Did you go to school for as
I
far as
went to
audio?
IR.
Oh,
I
okay.
went to IR twice. I got kicked out a couple times. Um, is what it
We
is,
won't
But I
get
went,
into
I
that,
went
but
long enough
yeah,
though. I went long enough to learn how to, repair mics and how to splice the analog tape and everything.
that's
I
what's up.
went there when Pro Tools was just now getting big. So we learned Pro Tools and the real stuff.
Yeah.
But they threw me out of IR a couple times, which is a story for maybe the book or something like that.
Right.
But I did go. I just never graduated.
Are you originally from Brooklyn?
I'm originally I'm from East Flatbush. I lived in East Flatbush. I lived in Sheepshead Bay. I lived in Fort Greene, Clinton Hill. Lived in Buffalo for a year. But I'm from East Flatbush. I'm from Brooklyn. My parents are from the Caribbean or the Caribbean. My father is from Panama, and my mother is from Guyana.
That's
You know
what's
what I
up.
mean? That made me black. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And part of a long line of proud Caribbean people to live in this country and to fight for all of the African people in this country. I don't see us as being separate, even though some might try to separate us. But we've been here for over 100 years, banging out, against the system for the liberation of African people worldwide. Starting from Garvey, on down. Even Malcolm had Caribbean roots in him. So very proud, of that. But I'm from Brooklyn though.
That's what's up.
My neighborhood in Flatbush, they call that Little Haiti. I think officially now it's called the Haitian whatever district. Like my area in East Flatbush in the 30s by
Okay.
Clarendon and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. I gotta check that out.
Mad bread bakeries and
Yeah,
all
no
that.
doubt.
Word.
Yeah, man. Since you mentioned Malcolm, and you doing any work with RBGs with Dead Prayers, or was
I
it
forgot.
just air
You know me.
lights?
Nah, well, so work. So I met Dead Prez. I met M1 and Stick in '98. Uh, Funny. I just came back from Atlanta. I was politicized, working with an organization down there, which I won't mention. And I needed friends and I needed people I could ally with because I hadn't been home for a few years. And I heard M1. No, I heard someone talking about Dead Prez. They just got locked up and they mentioned the People Army. And I'm like, oh, I gotta find these guys, People Army. Cause it sound like they on some stuff.
Right.
And I saw M in front of Mega Evers one time because I was going there, and they was in Crown Heights pretty much. I always see Stick or M on the train, whatever. I saw M, and I said, "Yo, I heard about this organization that you in. I'm trying to get down with that. I forgot the name of it, so I'm thinking People Army, but he sent me to Uhuru Movement, which he actually was the chapter president, of Uhuru Movement or the National Political Democratic Uhuru Movement, which was founded by the African People's Socialist Party. I'm sorry, I may have gotten that them letters mixed up, but so I became a member of Uhuru, in Pedem, and that so that whole People Army Collective infused, in Pedem, and I met Alex in '99, 2000, but we didn't really connect because they were on something different, and their music will tell you what they were on. They were on something different, I was more towards the political side, and eventually, of course, even though RBG, as we know it, started in Oakland, but as far as in New York, what is known as the RBGs, the Revolutionary But Gangster, that morphed from People Army, you could say.
Yeah.
And though M and other brothers, People Army, they had connections to both coasts and also Chicago. So all this, the RBG thing, was really in tune with the Uhuru movement, And so it wasn't until '05, I think, that I started getting down with A Likes because Supreme, who was their manager, I met
Right.
Supreme when I was in Atlanta. Is '95. I was 18 when I met Supreme, and so he asked for some help with his group, and I went to a studio session. I think Bilal was singing. I forget the name of this. I think unlike one of the songs they were singing, and I just never left the studio. And Ness and I became fast friends, and so I guess my entryway to the RBG collective came from those ways, but also Divine RBG, who I'm a 5%er, and as is he. Divine is the one that kind of pulled me, into the mix more than anything. So I said all these. I mean, you couldn't be political and be in Brooklyn, and not be somewhat connected to
To RBGs.
DPs and
Yeah.
connected to RPGs, and then
Right.
obviously it became like all movements. It became bigger than the actual people who founded it, and became a bigger thing. Um,
Yeah. Because that's
mhm.
how I ended up producing Murder Me for Air Likes. Um, like you were saying, I met Supreme, and he told me that he was working with Air Likes, and he needed some beats. So it
Mm-hmm.
was around the same time, you know what I'm saying, like the mid 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I heard about Dead Prez. You know, I used to go back and forth